No, he's got to go, bro. Red ball
Yeah,
cricket only. Sorry,
that's a good
that's
day.
welcome everyone. My name's Vida, and this is Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast. And this episode is sponsored by Four Pillars Gin. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sohan, and he's been a busy boy trying to win another flag for his club. How are you? And most importantly, did you win, Bora?
Now, unfortunately, fell short. But yeah, I guess for everyone listening we there's been a small gap in between episodes, but mainly because of the cricket commitments taking over and good times to be involved with the club, finals, weekends. So yeah, the club I play for went into a best of three finals, fell short 2-1 heading at the end of the final. So didn't get the win, but overall a good season for us. But interesting with that, I just used to the normal intro, and I just saw something different. So might be
Yes,
a good time to touch base about that venture that has kicked into our episode.
we have a sponsor. That's the difference. So, do you like gin? What's your choice of poison? I'm more of a Scotch guy, but I do
Yeah,
enjoy a gin.
definitely. Cricketers would love a good drink and a good chat after a game of cricket. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Four Pillars Gin, Bora. I was introduced to Four Pillars Gin by one of my good friends in Melbourne. So I
Yeah,
tried their Shiraz gin, which was really nice. So
yeah.
when they came aboard to sponsor us, and I was wrapped. So it's something I can recommend. It's really nice, and yeah, we haven't done an episode for nearly 3 weeks, and we have missed lots of things. So we don't want to go back and talk about all those things, but
Yeah.
I'll just go through a few things we want to talk about today. We had one of the legend passing away in the last few weeks. Shane Warne sadly passed away, and his funeral is tomorrow at the MCG. It's going to be a state funeral, and say we are going to say final goodbyes to a cricketing legend. We have lots of discussions about who was the best spin bowler ever, and we always say it was Murali, but Shane Warne was the world's greatest leg spinner ever. You being a spinner, any thoughts about Shane Warne's passing away, Bora?
Yeah, a bit heartbreaking to take if I don't know, it's coincidence or whatnot. The day before him of this news breaking out that he passed away, I was watching the Warne documentary on Amazon
Yeah.
Prime. Brought back good memories of him as a kid. When you grow up, you watch the TV. At that time, on TV, it was mainly the Ashes, England, South Africa Test series. A lot of the Test matches were Australia involved, and Shane Warne was a pivotal part in that. For a lot of Sri Lankans, I think even for us growing up, he was more of a um, enemy or a villain, if you were to call it, because
Yeah.
we try to always compete against them, and Shane was on top of the mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, but in hindsight, everyone respected him as a player. End of the day, of what he achieved, and even though for Sri Lankans we viewed him as a villain on the field, I'm sure that image changed a lot over the time with his involvement and what he did for Sri Lanka cricket out of the sport as
Mm.
well. I think a big
Especially
one,
after tsunami.
yeah, the
Yeah.
tsunami charity efforts that he's put in, and I think a strong bond that or relationship that they've grown as the spin competitors between Murali and himself also flowed down away from the game. So, but as a player, as a kid growing up, Shane Warne was a very influential figure on the sport. Like we mimic different players
Yeah.
ways. I think Shane Warne top of the mark. What he did, you do. I mean, it's still till this day. Every time a bowler takes a wicket and yells out, "Come on, no, bring it on!" It's always that Shane Warne iconic moment in the '99 World Cup where he got rid of Herschel Gibbs. I think he bowled a beautiful ball, got him bowled, and then you could see his energy which he created with that "come on." Till this day, very fast, even when you play games and you see guys who are just shouting their head off, "Come on," and trying to inspire the team, that's a Shane Warne moment. That's how
Yeah.
I see it as. So again, tomorrow will be a celebration of his life, I guess, in official capacity. So we'll be watching that. It's going to be held at the MCG. Player as well, Rodney Marsh, he also passed away.
Yes.
So Australia had a small hit of some of its,
Mm.
celebrated cricketers passing away. Yeah, that's what I think was a sad moment in between the last few weeks, which happened. Moving on to cricket, there was a bit more happening as well, especially in Pakistan with Australia being involved.
Yeah. So, I mean, Australia went there nearly after 30 years, and the pitches they played on was flat, like roads.
No,
I mean,
you're
yeah,
not
like
supposed to say flat. I think you got to. I think there's a bit of media censor going on how you call the pictures. So
or you
um,
can call it a road then, bro. Just call it a
yeah,
road.
I
Yeah,
think
well,
Michael Kasperovich, he was doing his commentary stint up in the Test series, and I think he was censored, or he tried to uh, cover up the flat pitch scenarios. But yeah, not a pitch, not a little bit of
no,
grass on the pitch
it.
at all. So,
I think I think Pakistan didn't want to lose this series,
yeah,
and I think that backfired on them because when you put runs on the board, you're always under pressure. Like you can even on a flat pitch, you can have one bad session, and
yeah,
that can work against you. And with the bowling attack like Australia, where they have the pace and the
mm,
variety of left arm fast bowling option of Stark, who's really good with the all ball. Um,
yeah,
and one bad session, and you lost the third test match and you lost the series, so it backfired on them. This series was played in good spirits. You can see lots of smiles, high scoring, but it was a bit boring to watch cricket. Like there's nothing interesting was happening. You can always call what's going to happen in the next ball, so it wasn't the most exciting series, but the last 2 days of the series was good. um yeah, I mean, Nathan Lyon um, came aboard and took 5 wickets to win the game for Australia.
yeah. You're right. Lion, I think he bowled massive amount of overs, so he'll give his shoulder a good rest and a break now. The guy, I think we've spoken a lot on this show, Uzi Kawaja,
Oh,
having a golden run, making up for lost time by the looks of it, but a fairy tale series for him, going back to his home country, wherein and performing at venues that he as a child had a lot of childhood memories out there. So it was a good outing for him. Pakistan, touching base about their squad or the 11, something which I noticed in this team was they didn't have a strong spin bowler.
yes.
They normally would have a strong leg spinner or a person who will be able to be the leader of the pack, but I didn't see that happen. I wasn't impressed with some of the spinners that was on
Mm,
display for Pakistan. So inside they probably wanted to score big and try to create a bit more pressure, but looks like it backfired. So Australia um, got the series under their belt. Well, like we saying, most part of the series was boring to watch. It was just flat runs.
yeah.
But I think they move into the one-day series
Yep.
with Pakistan about to kick off. Sri Lanka, I think we need to touch base, but the quicker we go off from what happened in India, the better, I think,
Yeah.
for us. Fell short massively in that test series, got
Well,
exposed to a lot. But I think one silver lining or one really good fact is a fourth innings 100 by Dimuth.
mm,
I think that shows what a quality player he's been. But the rest of it, not a lot to
uh,
talk about. So,
I'm gonna call it just gutless batting, Bora. I mean, we knew what we up against when we are going to India, right? We
yeah.
we knew it's gonna be a tough tour, but there's a way of losing. I mean, if you put up a fight and lose, that's fine. We haven't won a test match in India, even with our grades. We could have put up a better fight. I mean, some of the shots our batsman has played, that was not on. Yeah, I mean, that was the disappointing part. I mean, I felt bad for Dimuth because I felt like he was just a lonely warrior there. There's no one's there to support him or to just hang around with him just to
Yeah.
fight. That was the disappointing part. But talking about the wickets in Pakistan, Bora, Australia coming to Sri Lanka in June, July. We had to make sure that we don't do the same mistake. I just saw the itinerary, the 2 test matches we are playing at goal. So that's a good decision.
Yeah, I've seen that goal itinerary is pretty tempting for a lot of the Aussie travelers who will be wanting to go out and watch a game in Sri Lanka. I think it's a brilliant venue to travel, watch a bit of cricket, and explore the tourism in Sri Lanka, especially along the
Mm,
coastal regions. So, any of the listeners from Australia, Melbourne, Sydney, or any part of Australia thinking of going out there, that's a pretty good one to be part of, and a good time to get out. It's pretty much getting into winter here, and then get
yeah,
into the warm weathers in Sri Lanka. So good food after the games, good
yeah,
venue to watch cricket, and hopefully, like you say, the pitchers, we'd ideally want it. I guess the Sri Lankan pitchers will offer a lot more to the spinners than what
yeah,
the Pakistan pitchers did, because I don't think it'll be that hard or that flat. The wickets would tend to offer assistance from the third day onwards, maybe.
yeah.
Possibly from the second day onwards as well. There'll be a bit of burn.
I mean, they haven't toured Sri Lanka for nearly 6 years, I think. So
Yeah,
this
I
is
think the
good.
last time the test series happened, Kusal Mendes played a massive part in
Mm,
that. I think it was Kusal Mendes pretty much emergence into world cricket, where he made a big statement in that. Mitchell Stark had a bit of an edge over Dimuth Karunaratne from
yeah,
memory.
yeah.
So it'll be a good or
Mm.
interesting battle to see how that spans out.
But we
But
won
yeah,
3-0.
we won that.
Yeah,
Yes, we won
3-0.
that test
Mm.
series. We had a good match, which I think started it, which was in Kandy, and that kind of kicked us off. Aussies would prepare themselves for a spinning track. They might, depends what the composition they'll play, but most likely they'll play the 2 spinners
Two
and
spinners. Yeah.
the 2 quicks with Cameron Green.
Yeah. If we move on to IPL, right? IPL has kicked off last Saturday, and already
Yeah.
some of the Sri Lankans are making a mark in the competition. We saw a blistering innings from Bhanuka Rajapaksa. Now they call him the Sri Lankan discard Bhanuka Rajapaksa because he had his fitness issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made an early impression, and Dushmant is up and running in the wickets, and Wanindu Hasaranga took a wicket off his first ball. So our boys are doing well early in the tournament. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how Mahatish Theekshana go if he gets a chance to play in the next few games.
Yeah, IPL kicked off and a lot of glamour around that tournament. Few of the Sri Lankan boys are involved straight away and playing key roles. Bhanuka batted number 3 for his
Yeah,
franchise. Vanidu looks like a playmaker bowler because he leads the spin attack with Chahal, Yuzendra Chahal not in that Scott Dimuth. So Vanidu pretty much is a frontline spinner. Dushmantha Chamira, opening bowler. So key roles. Again, Mahesh Deekshana would hopefully play a part in the coming days. You have even Chamika Karunaratne is in a squad, in the squad. I think it's for KKR.
KKR, yeah.
So then those were some of our proven performers in the T20 circuit. So what we'd like to see is how quickly they adapt to some of the strategies that are being introduced to them through different coaches, players, captains who would give them a different view of how the game's to be played. Dushmantha Chamira, I was having a look, seems to be adding a bit more variety. He seems to be trying to change his pace a bit.
Slow balls, yes.
Yeah. So maybe to grip on the surface earlier up and bowling with a new ball. So those are little change. Like Bhanuka Rajapaksa, he's an impact player. We know it right along. He's one of those guys. It's not a form thing. It's more of a he'll always look good. So he's a guy who's have a good attitude. Is not afraid. So. And his first impressions have always been good in tournaments. That's something I've noticed with Bhanuka. And even when he came in the early Sri Lanka T20 setups, he looked initially good. T10 were the T10 franchise cricket tournament he went into. First impression was good. And he's already made a good start in the IPL. So he's one of those players who has a knack of making that early impression. But yeah, it's a long tournament. We want him to be involved in it, performing well, and then the pressure's back on to the administrators or people making the decisions in Sri Lanka to say, okay, this guy is performing. There's fitness. Is it a fitness concern? Because he seems to be involved in a full season with the IPL franchise. So yet again, I still think there is a communication gap between the authorities and the players and the media, what's flowing through, because as a player, I'm sure there'll be some tolerance levels for fitnesses if they need to. At the moment, hesitancy is to take part in fitness test. So
every time he plays a good innings, the social media just blows up, You should see the comments from various people on social media. At the moment, he's the only Rajapaksa people like in Sri Lanka.
Interesting. Players are involved as well. Administrators are involved as well. So when I say administrators, few of us former ex-players are holding positions within the management teams for the franchises. Lasit Malinga got roped in for Rajasthan Royals as a
with Sangha.
With Sangha. Murali is involved. Mahela is involved. Tom Moody is involved. So our whole technical committee is involved in the IPL, apart from Aravinda Silva by the looks of it. So Aravinda might be making all the decisions back in Sri Lanka. So, but it's a busy period. Everyone's involved with the IPL, which is a good tournament to be part of. That's where modern day cricket's at. So,
So what you're saying is we have to wait for like 6 weeks for the rest of the world to play cricket. You just have to pause everything.
Everyone take a pause. Everything pause. Whatever capacity you can be involved with the IPL, just book your tickets, get involved. So that's how it seems to be.
That seems to be the case because. A couple of weeks ago, I saw Chris Silwood's going to be Sri Lanka's coach, and it's a big AO, but that's it. There's nothing. Everything's died down because the IPL has started. So
East holidays coming up as well, so maybe that's it. It's a long break in Sri Lanka.
But
if you were to separate the fads from the details or whatnot, there is a small disconnect here in Sri Lanka at the
Yeah.
moment with what's going on. We do have the domestic tournament, that is the provincial setup that is winding up.
In the
There are
semi-final
some
stage.
there are some performances coming up, but there seems to be a bit of disinterest on it as well. Is why it feels such a long season at this stage. It's almost like it's a tournament that's running on its own. It's the feeling we kind of have.
Yeah, no, I mean, not that I have followed a lot of it lately, but I mean, the one guy I saw has been scoring runs was Roshan Silva.
Yeah,
I mean,
that machine doesn't stop, does it?
yeah, I mean, if only we took him to India, because he played well in India last time we toured India. Could have used him in that middle order, but I can see what selectors are looking at in Charit Asalanka, because he had a really good white ball start
Yeah.
in his career. So I can see what they're looking at, but don't know whether it's time for him to focus only on white ball cricket for a period, then slowly introduce him into the test cricket setup.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think you're right there. But if you take Roshan Silva's situation as a player, before this provincial tournaments or kicked off, they weren't involved in much cricket. Like we were talking
Yeah,
about how Dimuth Karunaratne would prepare because he hadn't played much cricket. It's the
no.
same with a guy like Roshan, who is heavily impacted on playing 4-day cricket or having to perform there. So it's almost like he would have gone unnoticed or been forgotten in the mix-up as a player. Now we kind of see him because he's scoring runs or he's involved. If this tournament was probably 2 weeks before the Indian Test series, I think Roshan Silva might have found his way into the 11 or would have been in that mix. So that's some of the disadvantages of being a one format player. If you're not in sync making that runs, you kind of not make it. Whereas if you take a guy like Janit Lienege as an example, he was in the last mix of the Sri Lanka Premier League.
Yeah,
Made a small
250s.
250
Yeah,
straight into the 11, and now
he
like
came to
and
Australia.
came to Australia. Didn't as a player initial some struggle at the start, which he did. But I think the question was asking how did this guy come into the squad on the back of those 50s and making an impression, of 2 games. So those are the two toss-ups that we have between with playing and having results as a player to get that edge, where or not playing and just trying to be on, stats. And I don't think a lot of the Sri Lankan selectors go on stats or know their players, or have a following of who are the players. I feel they lack that bit.
What worries me is Bora, because most of these, the players we talked about, are one format players. Like I can see a trend coming of these one format players try to look for other options. Right, so
Yeah,
Rangalakmal, he decided it's time to hang up his boots
yeah,
and go and play for a county. I mean, he could have played
yeah,
another 2 good years of Test cricket for Sri Lanka.
yeah,
I saw an article on Sunday Times where Dimuth Karunaratne has raised his concerns about his future,
yeah,
because he's not clear about what's happening in the future. So people like Roshan and even Dimuth decide, if they decide to go and play county cricket or retire from international cricket, we are in trouble when it comes to Test cricket, because Dimuth is the only guy who's been scoring runs in the last couple of years.
yeah. He's been a rock for us, that's for sure. And cricketers' life is more on what you have as performance contracts or whatnot. And if there is a disparity in the Sri Lankan contracts that are being offered, whereas you get more value to, or more steady income by being part of a county setup, lot of players will consider taking it. So, because if you secure 2 years of a solid return of playing county cricket and getting exposed there, a lot will take it on. I think that's probably what Suranga would have thought. Hang on, he may be the senior player or the leading fast bowler in that 11, but there seemed to be a lot of unsureness of where he
Yeah,
stands. So he would have thought, okay, as a fast bowler, I might as well take that option.
yeah,
Dimuth probably is considering that as well if there is not a lot of communication or clear thoughts of what is his involvement with Sri Lanka cricket over the next few years. We can't just
mm,
go drop and select
yeah.
players as we choose. It is their livelihood.
And these boys have taken pay cuts as well, Bora. So that's another another factor, because I mean these boys are in top of the pyramid. I mean, if this is the case for the guys on top, imagine what's going down the pyramid. I mean, some of the guys who doesn't even have a contract, and they depend on first class cricket, or a contract like a provincial contract from the cricket board. So
Mm.
if you don't look after cricketers, domestic cricketers, you're not going to survive in the international stage. That's simple as that.
It's a hard one, hard spot to be. Yeah, if we are to be competitive in world cricket, that's our
Hmm.
feeder system. Or we got to take care of our feeder system.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
All right. Let's move on to Women's World Cup, Bora.
Mm.
Both teams we go for in the semi-finals. So
Yeah,
tomorrow is the first semi-final. Australia playing West Indies, and England playing South Africa on Thursday. And for Australia, Alice Perry injured again, and this is the
no,
second time she missed the T20 World Cup final in 2020.
yeah,
She must be devastated.
I know. It's for a fast bowler. Oh, she's an all-rounder, but I think it's more of a fast ball injury that is keeping her out. Is probably does she start thinking about letting go of one of um, probably thinking of maybe to let go of bowling and concentrate on
Mm,
batting because it's at a age where she is struggling back spasms or
yeah,
hamstring. I saw that and I'd love to see her being part of this squad, but I don't think Australia will miss to an extent with the backup they've got this in this tournament. Maybe a few years ago, they would have had a massive impact, but now with Talia McGrath in that setup,
Annabelle
Beth Curry seems to
Sutherland.
be more of one. Yeah, Anna Sutherland is there as well. So they'll be all right, but she's been one of that core group of players in that team.
Yeah,
So Australia seems to be able to transition. So when these players are not part of the team, they still have good coverage. So they've tackled that well. But I think Ellis Perry might consider giving up of bowling if she is to
yeah.
make her career a bit more longer than what it is.
Mm. I think Shane Watson went through something similar in
Yeah,
the latter part of his career, and he
yeah,
basically gave away his bowling. When he
yeah.
first came out, he was someone like Cameron Green.
Hmm.
He used to clock 140, and he was the genuine all-rounder. Then he became the opening bat who bowls
Yeah,
few overs if needed. So that's what Perry has to do, because I'm sure she can play another 2 3 years till
yeah.
she can play till the next World Cup, because she's a gun. um, both teams we go for are in the semi-final, so I want England to beat South Africa and meet Australia in the final. So
In the finals, yeah, that should be a good one. I think if you made a good call with going with the team, and they
England,
made finals. Yeah, England,
yeah.
unbelievable. That
Well, they already
um,
spot a bother. Like they lost few games, but they made a good
yeah,
comeback. And
no,
interesting,
it's
South Africa.
It is an interesting team. India
yes,
also was there, but then fell short.
yeah,
I was surprised that New Zealand couldn't make it. I mean, playing at home, just they seem to have fallen away when it needed
nah,
to stand up. So no, that's the format you play in, because you play each other. You meet each other, everyone
yeah,
to get into the top four. So um, New Zealand was, I think, their showing was more. I think was a disappointment playing at home. They expected a lot more. Australia, England, as you say, South Africa. I think our
yeah, the dark
friend
horses.
Estelle was saying South Africa would be up there, so she'll probably be rapt about
Yeah,
them making it into the final. I know she supports
she called
Australia, but
it.
I remember she saying there are a few South African players who make
Mm,
up in this. So that's what you get when you interview and speak to the best who knows the game in women's cricket. So
yeah,
let's try to tee her up for the back end of the tournament. I'm sure she'll have some more insights to share with us.
yeah. Maybe before the final,
Yeah.
England versus Australia or South Africa.
Yeah, she'll go Australia, South Africa, but um, if it was in her hands. This episode, we were more trying to catch up with some of the things that
Yeah.
were in
Mm,
and more focus. We'll try to bring some more content over the next few episodes. Now that cricket's taken a back seat in terms of playing games and matches for our respective clubs, it's getting into an off-season mode here in Melbourne as the season winds up. Vida, you were playing a bit of, you went back to your school to play a bit of cricket. I
yes.
see on the weekend. How did that go? And was that did you guys get the win or?
No, no, no. We lost the game, but it was now I can
Yeah,
call it we played it for fun, but I was pretty serious
yeah, yeah,
on the field. But it was
yeah,
really good catching up with friends who we
yeah,
played against like 20 years ago, Bora.
yeah.
We enjoy each other's company and like we talked about the silly things we did when we were in school, and it was really fun. It's always good to catch up at least once a year. Should we do one question before we wrap up?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, probably let's get into a bit of a question and answer, give our listeners a bit of a go.
This is from Aravindan from London. This has been sent a few weeks ago, Bora, and I found
Yeah,
this in this in the junk mail. So
yeah, yeah.
somehow it ended up in the junk mail, so I didn't see it. So he goes, "Hi Vidya and Bora. Do you see any role for Dinesh Chandimal in the limited over formats going forward? His strike rate is low, and only excuse for that is if you are scoring lots of runs, but he is not. Is it time? Is it time to Sri Lanka to drop Chandimal for limited over cricket for good?" I mean, this has been sent 4 weeks ago, and I think we talked
We
about
did touch
this.
base about that, yeah. But with Chandimal, I think that'll be a common question that's always been asked.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, to be frank, I think some of the formats his time might be, wounded up. Test cricket, he probably has a chance. He's got a strong technique and he's a proven performer in that aspect as well. So um, he'll play a part in that, I'm sure. But again, nothing wrong. I guess Chandimal puts himself to be selected by playing tournaments that the selectors are looking for
Yep.
players. We could keep in roles as well. So
Mm.
he's put
Yeah.
himself to be there as one of the top two players to be picked on a tour by performing there. So it's criticism on Chandimal not to perform, not to be able to perform at the international stage as well, but the other players are not standing up as well to put him off a bit. So maybe they'll start looking at them more as well. But this same criticism might follow the players who replaced Chandimal as well.
No. He's got to go, bro. Red ball
Yeah,
cricket only. Sorry,
that's a good
that's
day.
yeah. No, I mean we've given him
Done.
enough opportunities.
I
You're
think
being
that's a
too nice.
yeah. I'm being too nice. I'm just trying to play the sit on a fence and see where things are at. But I think in the
No,
previous episode spoke about times up. So
yeah. No, what you're saying is true, but
right, Arvind is right.
so yeah. Once again, a big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Four Pillars Gin, and we are planning to run a competition to give away some prizes from our sponsors. So
Yep.
keep an eye on our social media, and you can find all the links to our social media in the show notes. So give us a follow and keep an eye, and we'll be posting some content about the giveaways and the competitions.
Yeah, being mindful of time. I think we've covered a few areas that we wanted to touch base on. Next episode, more focus will be on the Women's World Cup finals that is taking place. And hopefully the next episodes and the episodes coming forward will be covering more content of the game we love. So stay tuned. Thanks a lot for listening in and send through your question and answer questions. Not the answers, we'll give the answers. So just a small slip of the tongue there from me. Yeah, excited to have recorded another episode for the Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast. Like we always say, give us a like or a rating or a review on the podcast. Gets us up the ladders, and we'll be back with another episode next week.
Yes. See you guys soon. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys.